around the African plains at the world-famous San Diego Zoo Safari Park. You know what? If you can hear me fine all the way in the back, can you raise your hands in the air? Thank you. And now if I'm a little too loud, could you raise your hands in the air? How about if I'm too low, could you raise your hands in the air? What? Are you telling me if I'm just right, raise your hands in the air. Shake them around like you don't care. Make this bus wiggle. Awesome, guys. Awesome. Hey, just a couple of safety tips, of course, to keep your trip as safe as possible. If you are seated next to one of those latch doors, could you reach over and give that latch a jiggle and make sure it's securely latched? And remember, they are only latched, they're not locked. So please don't lean against them. And folks, if you're seated in the second or third coach, if you look overhead, you'll notice a yellow strip running the length of the coach. If you or someone near you should experience an emergency medical situation, please stand up and press that strip, and I will come to your assistance. If you're in the first coach, you'll notice there are no strips overhead, so you'll just have to get in touch with me the old-fashioned way by yelling at the top of your lungs. Hey, what safari would be complete without a view of our cheetahs? If you look off to the right side of the tram, you'll see two of our young male cheetahs resting in the shade. Of course, we know the cheetah is the fastest mammal on Earth, reaching those incredible speeds of how fast? Anybody? That's right, about 70 miles per hour. But you know, running that fast sure can take it out of a cat. They can only maintain that speed for about 30 to 40 seconds, at which time they'll have to lay down and take a rest whether they were successful or not. And you know, a cheetah is successful in about 1 out of every 4 tries. Don't worry, they're marvelously adapted to be able to hit those incredible speeds. They have an enlarged heart and enlarged lung capacity that enables them to process oxygen super efficiently. But I think their most wonderful adaptation is in their feet. Did you know a cheetah's paws are more similar to your dog's paws than they are your cat's paws? It's true. Well, it won't surprise you to know we're wildly successful at breeding cheetah here. We've had over 150 born right here at the safari park. If you're looking off to the left, you're looking across the East Valley of the African plains. You know, that's about 120 total acres of open rangeland for our reticulated and Rothschild's giraffes. We have a large crash of southern white rhinos in this valley. Right up here next to the road, here's a big flock of East African crowned crane. And you know, I'm not seeing too many of our rhinos right over here yet. I bet you they'll be a lot more visible. Oh, there they are, way back there, further down the valley. Don't worry, you'll get a great chance to see them on the way back. Well, if you're looking off to the right, you're looking at one of our flocks of flamingos. Hey, you know what we call a flock of flamingos? A flamboyance. Well, it's pretty easy to see why they aren't quite flamboyant. Those beautiful colors, these are greater flamingo from Africa. You know, this is their breeding season, and they've laid over 88 eggs, and I understand we have over 3 dozen gray, fuzzy little flamingo chicks already hatched. If you look all the way back in the back corner by the fence next to the water, you might see some of those marvelous flamingo nests. They mound up the mud into the shape of a volcano and then place their eggs on top of that mound, which keeps them out of the water. Did you know that those flamingos get their beautiful colors from what they eat? That's right, tiny crustaceans and algae that they ingest impart a mineral to their body that turns their normally white feathers those beautiful shades of red. If one of those red feathers should fall out, it would eventually turn white again. Well, we passed through that first set of predator gates, and now we're entering into the South Valley. You know, folks, you can only see this part of the safari park from the Africa Tram or from a cart safari. Now, this first holding yard to our right has, I see 4 southern white rhino females right now. And folks, this is only the front holding yard of our brand new 3.5-acre Nikita Khan Rhino Rescue Center. Folks, these female southern white rhinos are participating in some of the most critical conservation efforts going on planet Earth right now. Hey, you know, when I come to a complete stop like we're at right now, you're welcome to stand up if you'd like to get a better view or take a great picture or maybe just stretch your legs or even catch a cool breeze. Back to these southern white rhinos. You know what, folks? There are 14,000 southern white rhinos left on planet Earth today. That's not a lot. But you know, they do have a cousin, the northern white rhino. Does anybody know how many northern white rhinos are left? 3. I know, that's pretty scary. There are only 3 northern white rhinos left on planet Earth today. All 3 of those rhinos live in Africa under a 24-hour-a-day armed guard. Unfortunately, they are not able to reproduce. So if nothing else is done, if no actions were taken, the northern white rhino would slip into extinction within our lifetime, all due to man hunting it for the horn on its nose. By the way, anybody know what those rhino horns are made out of? Keratin. It's the same thing our fingernails and hair is made out of. Has no medicinal properties, no supernatural qualities. It's not magic. It's simply fingernail and hair. It's keratin. Part of what our conservation efforts across the world is to teach people, to educate people. But unfortunately, rhino horn has grown in popularity with groups that would poach them just for that horn. But here's the good news, folks. As we speak, our world-class conservation scientists, rhino keepers, and veterinarians are working on a process to bring the northern white rhino back from the brink of man-made extinction, because that's what we do. If you're looking off to the left, you're looking across the Southern Valley. That's about 150 acres of open rangeland. And we're also looking at a microcosm of African habitats. Standing bodies of fresh water like lakes, rivers and streams that feed into those lakes, marshlands and wetlands that surround those rivers and streams. Off to the left, lush green rolling savannas all the way up into the mountains. Off to the right, city, desert, arid habitats, and all the amazing animals that fill those unique niches. Boy, when you get out here in the field, it really is easy to gain an appreciation for just how huge the safari park is. The safari park is actually 1,800 acres large. That's right, you can fit 18 Disneylands right here within our borders. So if you're really tired by the time you get home tonight, that's probably why. Off there in the distance, I see our balloon safari experience up in the air. That's a great way to get a bird's eye view of the entire San Pasqual Valley. You know, it takes you about 400 feet up into the air. If you glance off to the right as we crest this hill, you just might get a glimpse of our Grevy's zebra. I sure wish that they were a little more accessible to us. Grevies are the largest of the zebras. You know, they get their own space because zebras in general are a really dominant animal, and they might easily boss around a lot of our more peaceful grazing animals if they were all put together. There they are. You can see them a little bit up there on that hill. And now this exhibit right here next to the tram road is a great example of a marshland in Africa. We have over a half-dozen African bird species represented in this exhibit, all the way from the Goliath heron at the waterfall up here, beautiful blue and purple feathers. Then back there in the shade, it looks like we have our western Rupel's vultures. Notice how long their necks are, but they're very sparsely feathered. That's so that they can stick those long necks all the way up inside a carcass and eat some of that soft stuff on the inside without getting a bunch of gunk all over you. You know, folks, I only see those two guys out right now. The other birds probably are finding a nice piece of shade to rest in. But, you know, the vultures get a bad rap, but they play a critically important role in the environment by consuming all of that carrion